Hey everybody, Guest Life Podcast, welcome, episode 29. We've got Charles Waugh on deck right now. Charles Waugh, we're going to be talking real estate and construction. He is from the Gateway Group, talking about Hamilton, talking about the Builders Association that we're both part of. We take this time to thank guests like this for coming on the show. It just makes such a difference when we have guys like Charles come in, tell a little bit about their story, how much they're involved in the community and what they do best. So thank you guys for tuning in. Charles, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
That's it. It's always good, guys, when we get that personal touch. Me and Charles actually were on a Zoom this morning for the association, and it's always good to see a familiar face and finally in person. And so Charles is his story is vast and there's a lot of moving parts. So we're going to get right down to it.
Let's do this.
Tell us a little bit about Gateway Group.
Gateway Group. Well, Gateway Group started about 7.5 years ago. It was just myself. I jumped into land development. It's something that I always wanted to do. I had no idea what I was doing though. And I got lucky with an opportunity that was a neighbor of ours, one of my parents' properties.
Yep.
Older Italian couple came to us, asked if we wanted to purchase their land. Long story short, after months of negotiations, I didn't know what a vendor take back was back then. They provided it, didn't have to put much money down. That was my first project. Fast forward from there, I ended up partnering with the builders. I tried doing development myself for 6 months, and I was wasting time and money. No clue. I didn't even know what a planner was at that time. So quickly, I knew I had to partner with someone. So I went to all the local builders, hit it off with one of the local builders, Live Communities, and we partnered on that project as well as another project. The first project was 45 towns. Second one was 117 towns.
Wow.
It's a crazy story. They taught me everything I knew. And then once we got approvals, they purchased the projects and took over.
Amazing.
So that's kind of the start. I kind of unconventionally jumped into the deep end with larger developments.
Yeah.
From there, I wanted to do the full spectrum from beginning to end.
Okay.
So from acquisition through development approvals and adding in construction as well to build them out.
Okay.
So now kind of one of our focus is the small scale infill developments. Infills meaning building within the urban boundary, building kind of within existing neighborhoods. So for example, you have a house, maybe a garage or a side yard that's vacant. We'll sever and we'll build it out to fill the missing tooth, kind of like we like to say, or filling the gaps.
Yeah.
So for the last 3 years, I met someone who's turned into my construction partner. He has a lot of construction experience. He's been able to help bring on the expertise on the construction aspect. So we kind of complement each other well, where I work on the acquisition, financing, and the development side, and then he kind of takes over and does the construction side.
That's amazing.
So that's kind of in a little nutshell, kind of what we do. We
It's
do
a
some
lot.
Yeah. So that's the development side, and then we have other areas, aspects, as like education. We do some training on developments. We do some renovations and where we renovate homes and sell them. So yeah, it keeps us very busy.
Yeah, that's good. And so we were talking just before the show, guys, and one of the things I noticed with Charles is just talking about that education piece and kind of the starting with no experience and then gaining it as you go and how much time that takes. And, tell us a little bit about the course that you guys put on. Because I thought when I saw it, I was like, this guy, not only is brilliant, but he's helping people, right?
And that's what we want to do.
Saving time, saving money on people kind of, man, if I had a crash course, I would have.
Well, first of all, I wish there was a course available 7.5 years ago. Obviously there wasn't, there's not much material out there. But our goal was really to help people. And really our whole business is around that. Whether it's help deliver happiness with brand new homes or renovated homes, to educating people on the development side who want to get into developments. And, developments is something that people perceive as very difficult, complex, capital intensive, and they can't do it. And I want to dispel that myth, especially on the small scale infills. Mm-hmm. We're taking an oversized lot, and what we're teaching people is typically we try to keep the house, so you maintain a lot of the value there, and then sever and create 1 or 2 lots. And then there's a lot of options from there. You could sell the lots, you could build out if you want, you could hire a builder. So yeah, we want to teach people. And so Andy Tran, Steve Ford, and myself partnered together, and we developed a course. We had this idea at least a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And in 2020, we went ahead and developed the course. That was intense. Oh man, like course creation is a lot of work. I underestimated it.
Yeah.
Like we held our first course September 2020. We've held two courses total, one in September 2020. The last one was May 2021. Obviously in May during COVID, we had to do it through Zoom. The first one was in person. A lot of fun, like just a lot of energy in the room. And when you're having people come for a weekend, like all day from like 8:30 to 5:30, you're just go-getters. These are people who want to take action.
Yeah.
So it's like, it charges me up.
That's
right?
it.
So very intense, the Saturday, Sunday, tons of information, great networking. But since then, we've had students take the course and they've gone off and be able to do their own projects, which is really our goal. Our goal is to teach them and allow them to feel comfortable taking the next steps to do their own infill development. Obviously, like we talk about the full team that they will need, consultants, and it gets them started. But very happy to say that we've seen a bunch of students like take action and even some of their own properties that they own. Some of these investors might have rental properties.
Yeah.
Well, they realize, oh man, I have the land that I could sever right in my own portfolio.
Yeah.
So look there first.
Yeah, why not, right? No more acquisitions. You just could pay yourself.
That's right, exactly.
And I think like, kind of seeing a niche in terms of like, wow, like I think sometimes the biggest problems you solve are your own.
Yes.
Right? And it's like, wow, if I'm the only one having these issues, it's not the real thing.
Yep.
There's got to be other people with the same problems that I can solve and I can help based on, so they don't do the same mistakes that we made
Exactly.
or I. But how did you kind of transition from saying like, okay, this is a good idea to I'm going to take action on my own ideas?
Like going from the larger developments and actually taking action on the small scale infills. It's just like in my head, when I want to do something, I just take action. I'm just like, who can I find who knows this? And then, that's one of the big things is like mentors, finding the right mentors, building a tribe around you, a team that has the same goals in mind. So when I jumped into the small scale infills, I knew I had no idea about construction. Mm-hmm. So I had to find a construction partner. And through one of my networks, I met Steve, and he's a construction expert. So you need to build your team. You need to know what you're not good at or what you don't know, and try to find that person that can help you. Just like at the very beginning, when I realized I didn't know development at all, I had to go out there and partner with a builder. So similar thing.
It happens all the time, and I'm laughing because it's like it's just these aha moments. It's like it's okay not to know. Like I'm the first one to say it. We had a meeting the other day with a couple lawyers, a personal wealth guy, and like accountants, and it's like you know how much smarter you feel when you have the people to answer the questions around you. And I think it's such great advice. If you're ever talking to a bank, have your accountant with you.
Exactly.
Don't get taken advantage of. Yep. And I'm sure that's a lot of stuff you teach in your course, and understanding like where the different points are and who's actually going to help. Like well,
we actually bring some of the expert guest speakers right into the course.
Oh, wow.
And they'll deliver their content. And we have planners, we've had accountant, mortgage broker. Financing is obviously very important.
Huge.
It's huge. So you need to have your power team. Mm-hmm. And so that's a big part of the course of, how to look for them, what to look for, what to expect, and what the responsibilities are as part of the team and the project. Yeah,
that's amazing. And so like now, as you're educating others, what keeps you motivated to kind of self-educate and kind of grow like that?
Oh man, we're the same. We love learning, right? Whether it's reading books at night or listening to podcasts, like on the way, on any drive. I just lifelong learner for sure. I'm, my team, myself, we're all kind of similar in that way. We're making mistakes all the time. But the thing is, you learn from the mistakes, right? Mm-hmm. And then we try not to make them again, but we're very solutions oriented. And I love to develop most personally as well as professionally, just to, get better and be able to be more effective when we're working the business, or maybe be better in a relationship with, friends, family, spouse. Things like that. Just be a better person. And be the best version of myself. Or even in the gym, trying to learn how to squat better or do the snatch better, always working on these things. Always trying to get better and stay humble, right?
Yeah, hungry and humble.
You already know all this stuff.
Yeah, no, not everybody. Again, it's I know about your daily routine, but walk us through the daily routine of an entrepreneur that's kind of growing with that mindset and kind of wants to take things to the next level consistently. Because we know. The reading and the education, it goes such a long way, but connecting the body with the mind and having that routine, I'm sure goes a long way.
Absolutely. I think routine is very important. Obviously, it changes in your different stages of your career. When you're first starting off, it's just insane trying to put all the hats on at once. Throughout my journey, I find, like you said, physical is very important. We can't be mentally sharp unless we nourish the body, physically active. So for me, I go to the gym 3-4 times a week at 7 a.m. That's my routine.
Yeah.
And it gets me, wake up early, go to the gym, and it gets me ready for the day. It almost feels like I've almost won the day.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I could take on anything. And so that's kind of one of my routines. And then from there, it could be a mix of like networking or meetings or working on projects or being on site. Every week could be different, but there's a few staples in there, like the gym that kind of gets me focused. Yeah. And then every week, like I have team meetings either on Mondays, and that's what kind of gets us set for the week. And even on that day, there's different agenda items that we go through, whether it's reviewing cash flow, which is very, very important for a business. Obviously, we forecast months out in advance, or going through project statuses and stuff like that. So those are some of the staples. The rest of it will kind of depend. I'm not so structured where I only have one day for meetings. It kind of depends week by week, which also keeps it interesting. Yeah.
Well, I'm always a guy that likes a full schedule, but also last minute things. If you're planning for a perfect day, we always used to do that. Mondays would be so hectic. And finally I was like, okay, we're too busy.
Yep.
Don't book anything on Mondays.
Right.
We always left one crew open Mondays.
Yep.
Why? Because every week we're behind on Mondays. Why? Because we don't allow that overflow.
You know what's funny, Dan? We've actually thought about switching our team meetings to Tuesdays because Monday is such a shit show.
Yeah.
You need to get stuff done.
Yeah.
So I think we're actually going to change our team meetings to Tuesdays because Mondays is hectic.
We do Tuesdays at 9:30 for that reason.
There you go.
Right? It's that anticipation. It's like, oh, why are we always so behind? We don't plan for it, right?
Yep.
Everything can be planned for, especially when it's consistent, right?
Exactly.
We have 2 days where for us in our business, it's, we get calls in, emergencies come in, and you gotta get them going. And, Friday we didn't get that job done. Well, it's going to flow over to Monday. So if you're booked solid Monday to Friday, now you're just constantly letting clients down, time after time.
Exactly. Another part of the routine, like not in the weekly routine, is we do quarterly strategic planning meetings. So we do our annual goals at the end of the year for the following year. We review our previous years, but then the annual goals, we want to translate into quarterly goals as well. We break them down into Q1 to Q4.
Wow.
And at the end of each quarter, we review our goals, what got done, what didn't get done, why didn't it get done. That's a good session to kind of reset.
Yeah.
And then possibly set new goals for the next quarter. And then those quarterly goals then also translate down to weekly tasks and stuff, to daily. So everything kind of complements each other or is in support of the big annual goals. And then the annual goals, I don't go as far as you. I will at some point. 3, 5, 10-year goals.
Yeah.
We want to get to there. Right now, we really look at a year at a time. We're kind of growing quite fast where we're going to need probably a 3 or 5 year plan. But right now we've been looking at 1 year increments.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, sometimes as an entrepreneur, I find myself, and I'm sure, most of the people I talk to find the same. It's like, it's in your head. It's in your head.
Yep.
And that's kind of what we're going to segue to next is, how do you kind of support your team and bring those values that you have into the team environment and motivate these guys?
I think it's just having open communication. We already kind of, as part of the interviews or that, we know what we're looking for. And I have my core values like right beside me in my home office. I want to go through the company core values. I know you recently went through that exercise. I think we already know because the values of your company, it defines who you already are. It's not like you want to be this. It is who we are. So, we're looking for positive people, solutions oriented, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And if you don't share those same values, then it's not the right fit for at least at Gateway Group.
Yeah.
So, I think just open communication, always talking about like our values and maybe actions that support those values really reinforces it with the team.
Yeah, that's amazing. So tell us a little bit about what you do. I mean, we don't have enough time. There's too many times. But talk about some of this community involvement. I know how much you do in the community. I know whether it's being on the board for the WeHBA, which we're both members of, but just talk to us a little bit about how you give back, because I know it's endless, really.
Well, it's a big part of Gateway Group and kind of why we do what we do. We want to have a bigger impact. The more business we can do, ideally, the more impact we can have on our local communities. And me being born and raised in Hamilton, I've actually never left Hamilton. I still live in Hamilton. We do most of our work in Hamilton. So it's dear at heart to me. We want to help continue to improve, Hamilton's changed so much.
Massive.
And we want to continue to be a part of that. And also give back to the communities by charity stuff that we do. We actually have some plans coming up in December. Last Christmas, we did one where we gave Tim Hortons cards to homeless people.
Amazing.
We gave out 120 $20 cards
wow.
to homeless people. And people are like, are you crazy during COVID? You're going to walk out? But no, me and a few others just walked out and just handed it out to people.
That's fantastic.
And so that was one thing that we did. In the past, I've volunteered for Hamilton Basket Brigade.
Yeah.
My good friend Erwin Zito runs that, where you basically pack groceries and then you deliver them to the less fortunate families.
Amazing.
And it's very sad. Some families just don't have the means, and who knows what happened in their circumstances, but we want to try to support them. There's been other times where we gave toys through the Basket Brigade to kids, and it's crazy, man. Their wish list might be socks. And there's a picture. I know there's a picture. Someone took a picture of me, and this kid has the biggest smile over socks. Yeah. Almost put a tear in my eye. It's crazy. These kids are so grateful for what most people think is so small. Mm-hmm. So one thing that our team wants to do for this year for Christmas is to give toys to kids. We want to raise a lot of money and just make sure as many kids as possible locally have toys for the holidays.
It's amazing. And I find, as you get more connected with people that are more similar, it's it's a constantly giving opportunities. And sometimes being that funnel for them is just such a rewarding feeling, right?
Exactly.
Not everybody has a larger size business that can kind of support one of these things. And
yep.
being available for people, whether it's a coat drive or a food drive or a toy drive, where people can just give and it's not always monetary.
Yep.
We find it's such a big impact. And like you said, even going downtown, 120 people got $20 Tim's cards, which
yep.
means they got to eat and have a drink. And, it's a huge impact. And it's
exactly.
right in the core.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's not necessarily just charity too. Like you said, at the Home Builders, or the West End Home Builders, I've been on the board now for 3 years. Mm-hmm. And it's not paid. It's volunteered. But,
oh, no way.
Yeah. But Dan, I think you already know through these networks, and something that I would give as a piece of advice would be, you get back what you put in.
Of course.
So go to join these the good groups or networks that's within your industry or whatever you do, and participate. Get out there, meet the right people, volunteer. That's what I did. I joined the Home Builders I think 6 years ago, and right away how could I help? Where could I volunteer?
Yeah.
So joined the under 40 committee, shortly after that, volunteered there and just kept doing stuff to kind of, work my way up and get more opportunities to the board. And that's opened up so many doors. Met so many cool people.
Yeah.
Even through the chamber as well. Actually, we met through the chamber.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Young entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. But no, really, it's get out there and just engage.
Yeah.
It's one of the biggest things I could say. You got to network.
Well, and I find... I remember when I started and I was going to these events, and again, at the time I was still plumbing. So it was I'm the plumber at these.
That's what I met you.
Yeah. And what do you do? I own a plumbing company. It's how many people? It's just me. Yeah. And, it's how it develops. But now you build these relationships and you realize wow, I've been in business 7 years and I know these fucking people. Right?
Exactly.
And it's different because I find, at the beginning, it's I'm just not that guy, or I don't have that many friends in this time. And especially as an entrepreneur, I find if you don't grow up, which I don't think many people do, because I find entrepreneurs find each other later in life,
Yep.
because obviously you're not an entrepreneur at 15,
Yep.
that it's a challenge, because you're not dragged, I shouldn't say that, but sometimes kind of stuck with your old friends.
Exactly.
And it doesn't mean that they're no good. It just means that they have different priorities.
Yes.
And sometimes you can feel like a bit of an outcast, which I'm sure, as I'm talking, a lot of people do.
Yep.
And you go to these networking groups, and we're all kind of these outcasts that just mesh.
We're weirdos.
Yeah. Who wants to work late? Well, when it doesn't feel like work, it's a different story.
You know what you find though? Then when you first get in, it's daunting. I remember going to some of these networks, not knowing a single person.
Mm-hmm.
And then you try to break the ice with some people. Then you find out some people that have similar interests, or that, you have good fit, you have good personalities, and they end up becoming like your friends. So a lot of my business associates, like yourself, we're good friends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We might go out, go golf, go on trips, go whatever. And obviously I still have, high school friends or childhood friends and university friends, but there has to be some sort of balance.
Of course.
Like, balance is always a tough, very difficult subject, but yeah. And then obviously family too, right?
Yeah.
Of course, you can't forget family.
Yeah, people say work-life balance. I said, that's fine. I said, but if you want to succeed and excel in anything, there's no such thing as balance.
I never believe in balance either.
No.
I view it not work-life balance, but it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that we choose, that each of us choose. If you're doing the 9-to-5 job, well, that's fine. Maybe that's what they want. Or maybe what we do, entrepreneurship, is the path that we chose, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's always like living a life of intention. Like every day, everything you do it with purpose. So yeah, I think it's very important.
And I think that's great advice. And for anybody tuning in, like you got to really hone in on it. And it's like, it's not for everybody. And one of the, a friend, John, who's the vice president of operations for North America, the Young Guns, and they actually changed their mission statement.
Oh, yeah, really?
Yeah, it was creating future leaders.
Yeah.
And he said, we changed it to creating everybody's best self, the best version of themselves.
I love it.
And it hit me pretty hard, like a ton of bricks, because I was like, wow, like, you know what? Not everybody's built for a leader. Not everybody wants to be a leader.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you're that person, you're like, I just don't have any other choice. This is what I want. This is what my passion is. It's hard to kind of take a step back and say, oh, it's not for everybody though.
Right.
Right. I know everybody's had some sleepless nights, but working 9-to-5 or 7-to-3, there's nothing wrong with that. And I remember, back in the day, that was what I loved. I loved going home. Like, I didn't want to own a business when I was younger. I like going home and shutting off.
Yeah.
On the weekend, shutting down.
Yeah.
I can tell that you don't do that. But I mean, I don't think you'd have it any other way.
Oh man, like I don't think so. It's like I feel it's in my blood.
Yeah.
I've always kind of been like this. I've always wanted to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I was an engineer before, so I did kind of have that 9-to-5 life, or more like 8-to-6.
Yeah.
But entrepreneurship, you get into it and you think it's all sexy in like the magazines and media and all that stuff. But as you know, especially the beginning, like I've been at 7.5 years and I work more now than I did when I was an engineer.
Of course.
Like it's especially the beginning, it's insane. And especially when you don't really have the capital or you don't have the income coming in, you have to grind it for those first few years just to survive.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because if you don't have those people at that age where it's like, hey, it's going to take you 7 years to turn a profit, or like start actually making some money, where your visa, you're not like hoping it passes. But yeah, it'd be like, it's a hard road, especially at that stage, depending on when people start. But I wasn't even I think I was 7 years of work.
Yeah.
Right. Like my apprenticeship, sorry. And going through that stage, and it's just like, wow, this business isn't going to be profitable for these years. And like, this is what it's going to take.
There's a lot of sacrifice involved.
Tons. Yeah. And I think, how did you kind of manage that? Was it a question for you when you decided to kind of go on your own, or was it just we're doing this, no looking back?
You know what? It was never a question in terms of like me wanting to do it. At some point in my life, I was going to do it. In hindsight, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. But what happened was I lost my job. The office shut down. In 2013, was loving the job, loving the people I was working with, very interesting work, good pay. But political reasons, our office got shut down in Burlington.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, damn, no mortgage, no kids, no wife. Might as well start a business. This is a perfect opportunity. So it was actually a dark period then, though, because it was like depressing. It's like, oh, I want to work with who became my friends and all that. But in hindsight, it was the best thing that ever happened. And it's weird because like I find some of the dark periods in life turn out to be really blessings in disguise. The other thing that comes to mind right away, one is losing the job. Two is my dad getting stage 4 cancer, which was obviously terrible. It was a miracle he survived. And then from there, we learned a lot of lessons from there. Just like living simply, exercising, all that stuff. It was, I feel almost everything happens for a reason. So we've kind of grown. We've definitely grown, if anything, accelerated our growth from like both of those dark periods.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. It's the same with fear, I find.
Oh, for sure.
The other side
it's
of
a huge
fear,
motivator.
Yeah, the other side of fear is usually the best feelings that you can get. And I was listening to this Will Smith quote the other day, and he's like jumping out of a plane. It's like, the most fear where you're at, you stand at the door and then you jump out, and it's the best feling. So it's like,
I saw a picture of you. You recently did skydiving.
Yeah,
you're a crazy bastard.
So it was funny because that was maybe a week after I had mentioned that to somebody, and then I got surprised.
1 week after.
1 week after I had mentioned it, someone surprised me with it. So it ended up being.
How scared were you?
There was some fear in the eyes.
Yeah. How did it feel while you're going
the
down?
most incredible thing I've ever done. Wow. Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things. It's just like business. I remember when I made that decision, like I'm going to put my notice in, it was like, oh God. And the other side of that was incredible. And I think every next stage, and I think, as you become more, I don't want to say seasoned entrepreneur, but with more experience, one of the things that kind of really take away is when I get that feeling of fear, I identify it.
Yeah.
Okay, this is good. Let's roll with this. Let's see where we can take this. Because what's the other side of this feeling?
That's right.
Right? And then how do we find more of that?
I always feel like it's like feeling uncomfortable. It's like almost used to it.
Yeah.
That's where most of the growth happens. And so we're always kind of a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Whether it's taking on a project that's maybe a little bit too big for us or putting a little bit too much capital or whatever. I feel it's almost a good thing. It's like, where can I find more of this uncomfortable feeling?
Yeah, and some people are like, just why don't you take it easy? You're stop putting so much pressure on yourself. I was like, no, I love pressure. Give it, like, you know what I mean? That's why I work on my shoulders.
Thrive in pressure. Yeah, you got pretty broad shoulders.
Yeah, let's take it on. Well, what would you give as advice to your past self? That younger version of Charles, what would you tell him?
I almost wish I jumped into entrepreneurship sooner, actually. Okay. Like when the office shut down, I was 27 years old. Okay. Relatively young, but I think could have started maybe a bit earlier. But more importantly than that would be to focus and to do more like learning and growing and networking. Get out and find those people that are like-minded. Find those people in like I knew I wanted to get in development. Well, I wish I would have told my younger self to go out to the Home Builders Association and network with them. Even if I wasn't in the industry, go to those groups where those people hang out and find the right people that fit you or have a good fit together and learn and grow together. Or find those mentors too. I think mentors is probably the number one thing. Yeah. I look back and through the journey so far, mentors have been so important throughout the journey. And those are people who, might be friends, who maybe they're older friends or they're definitely wiser, who have imparted wisdom at no cost. I've had coaches throughout, but the mentors have been equally as important, if not like more important. Yeah,
that's just great advice. And I find, as you find those mentors, it's the biggest thing as a gift to them is to do and take action. Yeah. And
you know what? That's the number one thing, man. Take action. Take action. Get out there and just do stuff.
That's it.
That's the number one thing I would say.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
We're already done?
We're already done. Yeah, 4 minutes
I feel like I came in. I think we chatted for like 30 minutes. Yeah. If I could have recorded that.
That's it. Guys, we want to take so much gratitude sent towards Charles and just what you're doing for the community and how you're building this brand and building the community up.
Hey, likewise, man. Thank you for everything you do. Thanks for inviting me onto the podcast. Happy to join anytime if you want to do this again. I feel like we're just scratching the surface, but thanks again.
Oh, my pleasure. And then Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, episode 29. We're just so grateful that we've kind of made it to this point. It's a big milestone for us and all the listeners that are tuning in and kind of giving that feedback and really understanding, why not me, why not now? And like Charles said, taking that jump when you can and getting on the other side of fear because it feels good. There's people to support you and you just got to get out there. So thank you so much for tuning in.
100%.
All right.